Welcome to the Agent Upgrade Podcast with your hosts Jasmine, Krnjetin, and Alan Corey, where we learn the strategies of top producing real estate agents so you have the tools to upgrade your own real estate career.
Welcome to the Agent Upgrade Podcast with Jasmine and Heather. Today, Heather Dean is going to be joining us, and she's going to help us take a look at how she runs her business, and she's going to teach us about running a nice team. Heather started her own team called Sage and Cedar about a couple of years ago in August of 2020. She's got 7 agents on her team, and she is one of my favorite agents in town just because she started working with our team on the lending side literally from like almost day one. So I've watched her grow, and I'm super excited to introduce her to the rest of the world. So welcome to the show, Heather.
Thank you for having me.
I'm very happy to have you here, and I look forward to kind of uncovering some of the how to run a business day to day, how to be, just really smart in the shifting market that we're entering. And I look forward to just kind of hearing what the most important things are and lessons that you have learned as you've been in real estate. So tell us a little bit about your journey so that everybody can learn how wonderful you are and where you came from.
Yeah, absolutely. So I, my whole adult life have been in the service industry. I started bartending when I was probably 19. I'm not sure if I was supposed to be bartending at that point. I was behind the bar. So customer service has always been a big part of my business. I think the transition from the service industry into real estate is probably a little easier than any other career change because you can't teach personality. I feel like it can get a little awkward if you're sitting in a car with someone and you don't really have those people skills. So I think anyone considering that change, I think it's a really smart move. So I was it 2014 got my real estate license, and I actually, can I curse on here?
Yes, you can.
I totally shit the bed. It was a mess. I joined a team, but at that point, the team that I was on was relatively new. There wasn't really a ton of mentorship, which I think is super important, especially when you're new. And I just kind of felt like I was out, in the middle of the ocean with no life raft. So I floated around for a little bit, and I had to pay my bills. So I ended up putting my license inactive and going back to the service industry for about a year and a half. One day I woke up and I looked around, and I was at one of the best restaurants in the city, with passionate people excited to go to work and do what they loved. And I didn't feel that same passion. So I luckily have a partner who was super supportive and said, you know what, if we need to eat ramen, let's eat ramen. Try the real estate thing again. So I did. I quit my service job and I dove right in. I made sure to connect with other agents who had been doing this successfully for a long time and kind of taking their lead and not feeling so timid about asking for what I needed as far as help was concerned. And that really it was so important. I also connected with you and Jeff. Jasmine and Jeff actually took me, I think we went and ate ramen on our first date.
We're just keeping with the theme.
So, and it's one of the things that when I'm talking to mentees, I tell them, connect with a lender that you feel supported by, and you feel like you can ask those silly questions, and they can let you know what's going on their side of the screen when you're working that deal. So So yeah, learning all of those ins and outs was really an important part of gaining confidence and, starting a successful business.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
after that first year back, I sold 17 houses
Wow.
that year.
Wow.
So, it really does just show, like, consistency and, you know, drive is a huge part of being in real estate.
I feel that what I find is really interesting is that generally I find that people that are in the service industry
Mhm,
that come over to real estate, there is an aspect to real estate that is just pure hustle.
mhm.
There is, but you learn that in the service industry.
Right. You don't work, you don't get paid.
You gotta hustle. You gotta
Mhm,
hustle. And so I think that people that come into the business and expect things to just fall into their lap
mhm.
are not typically the most successful agents. People that
Sure.
come in and just have the grit and are able to put into FaceTime and be with their clients, those are the people that tend to succeed in real estate. And I think that's one of the things that I always loved about you is that you also had already a built-in like network of friends that you had that just loved you and that were willing to follow you into whatever your next adventure is, because I
Mhm.
feel like in the beginning especially everybody was working in the restaurant business
Sure.
that we were doing loans for. So it was just like everybody that you had interacted with on a day-to-day basis became your first clients, right? And
Right.
then as you've been in business, I feel like now you're doing their parents' houses and their second homes, and they're all, it just kind of, you've kind of been
Mhm.
building up your network. So joining a team, I think right now, in my opinion, if I were a new real estate agent that just got that just got licensed over the last couple of years, um, and then seeing the market that we're in here at the end of 22, I would be scratching my head and I would want to be on a team.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, especially right now, if you've been working like the past year and a half,
Mhm.
things have felt easy and hard at the same time. And now that we're seeing this shift, I feel like a lot of agents are scared to say, they're not as busy as they were. Like that
Mhm.
somehow is like a failure, that they're not producing like they were. But if you look at the stats, transactions are down. We're doing
Mhm.
less transactions than we were. So,
Yeah.
of course, that's going to affect your business.
Mhm.
That doesn't mean that you work less hours. It just means that you're doing different things with the time that you have.
Yeah.
I heard something a long time ago, never close your marketing department. And I think right now, it's really important to, keep that marketing department open and keep producing content and blogs and, meeting your sphere. You've got the time to do that now because you're doing less client facing work. So I think that's um, you need to keep pushing as far as that part of your job. And I
Yeah.
know it can feel a little bit like you're producing all this content and you're meeting all these people and you're still not getting those transactions, but it's you're filling the bank. You know,
Mhm.
people
Mhm.
go back and look and say, okay, this agent is active. They've been active. There's no like lull in whatever they're doing. They're staying consistent. They know what's happening in the market right now. So let's go ahead and connect with them.
Yeah, and I find that it's to your point, I find that, never close your marketing department as your income may be shrinking a little bit
Mhm.
because there isn't as many transactions, people are looking to cut costs. And so the
Sure.
first thing is like, well, do I really want to spend the $500 to get these postcards out or not? Right.
Mhm, mhm.
But it's the agents that do spend the $500 on the postcards that get the listing, right?
Right.
Because it's inevitably that fourth or fifth postcard that you hit them with.
Right.
Then that's when they're like, "Oh my god, yeah, I've seen Heather's name, every single month for the last
Mhm,
5 months,
mhm.
and there it is." But also just just the hustle of it is fascinating to me, especially right now. Like I was at the Apple store, right? And so normally, like, I feel like I've got so many clients, I'm just kind of doing, like, if I go to the Apple store, I'm just in
Right.
and out. But I was at the Apple store and the guy was like, "Oh, what do you do?" And normally I would just be like, "Oh, I'm a mortgage banker," and off we go. And I was like,
Sure.
"I'm a mortgage banker. Are you looking to buy a house?" He's like, "Well, actually, I'm looking to buy a house." And I was like, in the past, I would just have whizzed right by that. But now I'm like, the moment I got his phone number, he's like in my CRM. I can see that he's looking at my messages, and I'm like, yes, I'm totally prospecting. I'm talking to the Apple sales rep.
Two birds, one stone.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, oh, I'm gonna, but having that mentality, and sometimes when you have a lot of just when deals just come into your lap, you just forget, like, first and foremost, you're a salesperson,
Mhm.
right? You gotta keep talking to people, you gotta keep letting them know. And whether it's the girl at the checkout or wherever, everybody needs to know that. And also everybody needs to know what's happening in the market, because there's
Right.
so much negative media coverage, like the sky is falling, the
Mhm.
interest rates are super high, it's a bad time to buy. And so we have to be out there pushing constantly, why we, and I truly believe, like, I'm not even just saying that because I need a paycheck kind of a thing. Like, I truly believe it's a really good time to buy.
Mhm.
Yes, the interest rates are higher, but you are not having to pay an extra $50,000 just to
Right.
get
It's
the
the
contract.
trade-off. It's like,
Yeah.
do you want lower interest rates or less buyer competition?
Yeah.
Where do you wanna be?
Yeah.
So
And I mean, I think in Atlanta, it's relatively unique. And I don't know if you are experiencing this, but I think that we're kind of in this place where there is some price reductions. And I've noticed, like, definitely the higher price point homes are having more price reductions, like the homes that are like 1.5 million and stuff like that. I'll see those price reductions coming in. However, I'm also finding that, like, your regular day to day, like the 2 to 4, 500,000, even $600,000
Mhm.
homes, there is, if the house is good, there is still multiple offers.
Right. Yeah.
And that's on its own, it's a unique situation, because I feel like some other parts of the country, there is just, prices are coming down, where in Atlanta, we're like, oh, we can do this great 2-1, buy down program. It's like, oh, but there's multiple offers. So
Right.
so we
Yeah.
can't ask the seller to spend, $10,000 buying down your rate, but it would have been great if we could.
Right.
um
I mean, I feel like everyone knows what clickbait is. Of course, when we're looking at like celebrity gossip or anything like that, they understand that they're being
mm,
baited to,
right.
view whatever news media they're looking at.
Hmm.
But that still happens in real estate. They are creating um, the the almost the market that we're seeing now because people are so scared. But really, at the end of the day, you have to look at your micro market and what's happening where you are.
Hmm.
So just because we're looking at national averages right now, where homes, yes, homes are reducing their prices, but that might not be happening in Ormwood Park, or that may not be happening in Edgewood. It's really about figuring out where you want to be and what's happening in that neighborhood. So,
Hmm. Hmm. So I find that, like, we have, like, a couple hundred pre-approved buyers,
mhm,
right? That we kind of are constantly staying in touch with, because they're all sitting on defense. It's like, hey,
right.
anybody want to buy a house? But but the one that gets me is, I'll send out like a quick little check-in text, like, hey, just checking in, how's your home search going with Heather? And they'll write back, interest rates are too high, we're not buying right now. And I'm like, okay, I literally, like, the moment I see that, I'm picking up the phone and I'm like, all right, let's talk about this, right?
Right.
So I have a little bit of a spiel that I kind of go through, but I'm curious, like, what are you saying to your clients? Like, do you have a little bit of a something that you've kind of gotten used to saying when people are like, no, it's not a good time? Like,
Sure.
what's your little shtick that you kind of go through that maybe somebody else can pick up on and
Yeah, absolutely.
steal a
First off,
couple of your sentences?
yeah, no, I never pressure someone. If I feel that they are absolutely not ready, I'm not the agent that's going to push them.
Mhm.
But I think it's really important for them to be informed. So I will go through, kind of what we just said. Yes, the rates are higher right now, but we have less buyer competition.
Mhm.
So, you may be paying a higher interest rate, but you're not coming out of pocket 50 grand like you would 6 months ago because the home is
Mhm.
not appraising. We're
Mhm.
getting those contingencies back in the contract. You're putting down less earnest money. We're having longer due diligence periods. So there is a trade off. And at the end of the day, can you afford this mortgage payment? I think that's the most important thing. Um, and if you can afford it, go ahead and get under contract on that home. And if those interest rates go down, you can refinance. And if they
Mhm.
go up, you've got a lower interest rate. But I think the main thing is making sure that they're informed and making sure that they understand what their monthly mortgage payment is going to be and do they feel comfortable with that.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, I think that that's pretty much, yeah, that's very similar to what I'm telling my buyers as well, and I'm typically doing like a 2-year analysis. I'm not an expert, but I truly believe that over the next 1 to 2 years, the interest rates will come back down.
Mhm.
And so the type of analysis that I'm doing with my clients is like a 2-year analysis. Like, okay, what kind of a loan product can we get you into that you can live with for the next couple years?
Sure.
And then we're gonna refinance, do
Mhm.
something with this mortgage. So I think it might be just like a really good idea for the buyers to kind of understand that this is not a forever.
Right.
This is not a forever payment. What you are paying for the house right now is the most important thing because you're going to be able to lock in a better
Mhm.
purchase price than you would have 6 months ago.
Right.
And I also tell people like I really feel that the market slowing down is a very healthy thing
Agreed.
because otherwise if homes kept appreciating at 20% per year, very soon your kids would not be able to buy a home. Like
Right.
literally like within 5 years everything would be 100% more expensive. So this is a
Mhm.
very good thing. This is not a bad thing. It's just that this is kind of the price we have to pay to kind of slow the economy and get everything
Mhm.
back under control so that eggs don't cost $48.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
When people compare this to 2007, 2008,
Mhm.
um, obviously it's much different, but there's that education gap, I think, for
Mhm.
people a lot of times. What do you usually tell them?
So the difference is that responsible lending, that is just the only way to get a loan is to get, unless you're getting a hard money loan or something like that. Like all the loans that we're doing are for the majority of the last, since 2008 have been 30-year fixed mortgages. Most people haven't even gotten an adjustable rate. Not that there is anything wrong with an adjustable rate, but the adjustable rates have like this taboo around them since 2008. But most people have a fixed rate mortgage, and to get that fixed rate mortgage they had to get fully qualified. 2 years of tax returns, 2 years of W-2s. You have to have a good credit score. There is all these qualified mortgage uh, checks and balances that every single loan goes through that you don't even see that as a consumer on the back
Mhm.
end. Like every loan that I do gets checked, like, is this a qualified mortgage, yes or
Right.
no? Does it fit within all these parameters? That to income ratio is squeezed. And so the people that are buying homes can actually afford their mortgage payments.
Mhm.
So the what we are seeing right now is very different from what we saw 2008, because
Right.
the mortgage products themselves were just so dramatically different. And so the people that are in homes, the majority of the people have an interest rate under 4% right now.
Mhm. Right.
So there is no big foreclosure, something or other looming that everybody's going to stop making their payments. Most people have jobs, right? And there is a lot more, like speaking of restaurant business, like good Lord, like every single restaurant has a, wanted.
Mhm.
Everybody's looking to hire, everybody
Uh,
needs people to work, so there's plenty of jobs available. And so it's just a different economy. It's a completely different, like, this whole idea of like that the real estate market is collapsing is not. It's all it's doing is just it's just calming down.
Mhm.
It's just calming. It's not going down,
Right.
right? It's not going down. Real estate is only supposed to appreciate like 3 to 5% a year, right?
Right.
But year to date, I think like year from last year September to this year September, I think real estate went up by 15.8%,
Right.
right? So yeah, so it needs to happen. The slowing is a good thing, and combined with responsible lending, I'm not worried about about any kind of a
Mhm.
real estate, collapse or anything like that
Right,
on
right.
my end.
The To create that collapse, there has to be an influx of inventory, right?
Mhm.
And
And
I
where's
feel
that going to come from?
like no.
Yeah, yeah. No, we're millions and millions of homes in the negative still. So I'm not too worried about that being our problem. So, okay, so let's shift gears a little bit. I know that you have a great team that you run. How many agents do you guys have on your team now?
So David Pippin and I run Sage and Cedar, and there are 7 of us on the team currently.
That's very cool. And
Mhm.
so it's a small enough team where you guys are kind of intimate, but I guess it's big enough where everybody kind of also gets to do their own thing a little bit.
Right.
So how do you go from being like, hey, I'm a solo agent, I'm on somebody's team, and now you've got your own team? Tell me just a little bit about that transition, and how does it feel to be on the other end where you are the team leader and you're in charge of rallying the troops?
Yeah. So, I started thinking about starting my own team, with David, back in 2019. I felt there were enough new agents in, um, in the area that were reaching out to me, like, wanting to join wherever I was,
Mhm.
and where I was, I couldn't bring on any agents, so it felt almost like a missed opportunity.
Mm,
David was at Compass, and then he came back to EXP, and when he did that, I found that to be, like, a great opportunity for us to start, something together, because I feel like we are super similar in our businesses. We use our sphere quite a
mhm,
bit
mhm,
to produce our business. We're referral based, and I think
mhm,
that is a really important way to keep your business consistent and going, and, like, buying leads is not gonna do that.
mhm,
You have to work your sphere and, be referral based to really, lay any solid foundation. So, I saw that in David, and, I guess he saw that in me too. So we started our team we were planning on launching, March of 2020, but things,
The
yeah,
world had
things
other plans.
changed. So we used that opportunity to kind of like hone in on our branding and our mission and all of that, and ended up launching in August of 2020. We had 4 agents at the time, and we've grown, yeah, to 7. Most of the agents on our team are under 3 years old, so
Mhm,
they're
mhm,
still, learning. There's a lot of phone calls back and forth, Zoom meetings where we do team meetings. It's all about it. It's really important to us that our agents are educated, and we want the agents on our team to be agents that other agents want to work with, and clients,
mhm,
feel, guided by, and stuff like that. So that's really, where we have, our mission is education based. Because I feel like that's where a lot of your confidence comes from
mhm,
whenever you're starting
mhm,
out.
mhm.
There are so many agents out there who think they should know everything, as soon as they start, but that's not gonna happen. Hell, I'm learning something new every day. There's
Yeah.
things that I've never experienced before, and I'm almost 9 years in. So, yeah, you're not going to know it all. But having people behind you who have experienced some of these things where you can, bounce ideas off of, and still feel, confident, I think
Mhm.
is really important for new agents for sure.
So I think that there is teams where you basically are on a team and you come on as a buyer's agent, and maybe you work you work some of the team leads, and then there is teams that will also like buy leads. But I think what you are saying is like you're taking on these agents and you're growing them so that they can learn how to work their own sphere, as opposed to depend on somebody that's going to be handing them leads, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly. Look, there are three buckets, um, of leads that you have. You've got your own sphere, which is
Mhm.
people that you know. You've got your sphere's sphere. Say that 3 times fast, which is the people your people know, and
Yeah.
then you've got strangers, so you've gotta be able to be accessible to all 3 of those buckets, and, that's one of the things that, we push for our
Mhm.
agents to learn how to do,
Mhm.
because I feel like, sometimes you're really good at connecting with the people you know and connecting with the people they know, but you don't know how to get to the people you don't know,
Mhm.
or you're really good at maybe, blogging and SEO, so you're really good at connecting with, strangers, but connecting with your own sphere and having kind of that, self-doubt about, do people I know wanna use me is yeah, is something that people can lack. So really understanding all 3 of those, buckets is I don't know if buckets is a good term, but I'm gonna go with it. I'm in it already. We're using
I
buckets.
just will stay with it.
You know what I'm saying, though.
Oh man, and speaking of like the people that know you, wanna use you and like you, um, we had our team meeting today, and I was talking to Amy, and it was like, so is the market kind of slowing down, or do our people just don't love us anymore? I was like, yeah, it's like even 20 years in, or like, hello, anybody?
Hello?
Hello? Is my phone plugged in?
Right,
It's definitely that kind of a feeling, but just knowing that, and also knowing that maybe there are people that are not gonna love you right this second, but maybe at a different time, maybe they use a different agent, and then they next time they'll use you again. And so staying confident is important. I
mhm,
like that. I feel that it's really important because it's to me it's almost like you have the team that's there to support you for the hard things. You don't have to, like, sometimes at these big brokerages, there is like a broker, right? It's not going to be accessible to all 4,000 agents in Georgia or whatever, right?
sure.
So being on a team, and, between you and David, you guys have what, like 30, 40 years of experience in real estate. So, having somebody that's super accessible to you that can help you, like, don't put that on the amendment, put this on the
Mhm,
amendment. And then you still have the broker support if you need it. But at the same time, you're not giving up your identity as a new agent. You're
mhm,
not going out and promoting somebody else and you being their buyer's agent. So I
right,
think that this model has the opportunity to help you just continue growing, and also for you as a team leader, I feel like that your agents are not going to outgrow you, if
right,
that makes sense. Yeah, they're going to stay with you long term because they're going to be, they're going to have the support, whether they're closing one deal or
right.
10 deals, right?
And honestly, Jazz, if they do, that's great. I'm happy for them. I don't expect all of our agents to stay with us, their entire career. I think growth is something that is going to happen
Mhm,
in real estate, and
mhm,
we want that. You want to grow. So if that means growing outside of the team as well, um, that's something that we want. We want our
mhm,
agents to feel, that, maybe they have outgrown us at some point. Maybe they can go start their own team at some point because they've learned the things that, they should do, shouldn't do on a
mhm.
team, and they want to share that with someone else. So we're okay with something like that happening. It's not unexpected. And I feel like sometimes new agents come on a team and then they stay because they feel like they have to. But it's not always, you don't always have to. If you feel like you're getting the support, great. If you feel like you've outgrown it, great.
Mm.
You know, that means we've done our job, you know?
Right. Yeah. 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 So what are some things that you are teaching your agents right now about the shift that we are going through? What are some tactics, like some practical things? Do you have any certain marketing things, or just what are you teaching them? Given that if you're brand new to the business, you've
Mhm.
only been doing it for 2 or 3 years, you don't know what's about to hit you, right? So
Yeah.
what are you teaching them? Is there any nuggets that we can extract for our listeners?
Yeah, I think it's really important to be findable. There is the, I would say, I think 60% of the qualified buyers don't have social media. So while it's great to have um, really cohesive social media, the important thing is to also have your website. There are a lot of brokers who offer a free website to their agents. And taking advantage of that is really important. Making sure that we just started YouTube,
Mhm.
because it's like the second biggest search platform on the
Mm,
internet.
mm.
So making sure that, we're on YouTube, we're, oh my God, it's so cringy, but on TikTok, we're where when you search Sage and Cedar, we're what you see on that first page. Um, LinkedIn, wherever we need to be, we're gonna try and be. And I think for a team that's great, but also for an individual agent on a team, I still think that's really important for you to form an identity and be able to, when someone types in your name and your city, you know, you're the first on the list.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, I think one of the things, like with Instagram handles, I find, because I tend to look for real estate agents, as soon as I have a new agent, say it's a listing agent I've never worked with, I immediately want to connect with them on social. So I'll try and look them up on social media. Um, and it's surprisingly hard.
Mhm. Yeah.
It's like when your Instagram handle is not something super obvious like Heather Dean Realtor, like trying to find you on social would be like, it's really challenging, because some people still have like it. I feel like your Instagram handle needs to be like your business. Like,
Mhm.
what are you doing? So when somebody looks for Heather Dean Realtor, obviously you're going to be the first choice.
Right.
Not and I find that some people still have somewhat of like the cutesy email Instagram handles that they got like 8 years ago or whatever,
Mhm.
and it's like 111 underscore cat, and I'm like, okay, dude, I'm never gonna know. People are never gonna find you. Like,
Um,
so just be findable. And I'm also relatively surprised in this adventure of, because for me as a mortgage lender, like you guys, my real estate agents are out there hitting the streets looking for new buyers, and as a lender I'm always looking for new real estate agents, right?
mhm.
So like my prospecting is with realtors, and so a lot of the feedback that I get and a lot of the things that I share here is just from, like, I look at people's Instagram and web pages and all that kind of stuff. And I'm surprised by how many real estate agents will just have like that uber generic website.
Mhm.
Like, websites are not that expensive.
Mhm.
Like, you can get a Squarespace website put up for a couple $100.
Right.
Like, I would much rather, like, and I know Alan and I have talked death about this, but like have your own domain,
Mhm.
heatherdeanrealtor.com,
Yeah.
like, what, you know what I mean? And like have a website
Right.
that's not KW, or that's not even Compass or whoever. Like, have your own domain, have your own website. It literally just needs to be your business card. But
Mhm.
when somebody types in Heather Dean Realtor, Sage and Cedar is going to pop up. It's
Right.
not going to be some generic EXP website that,
Mhm.
it doesn't have to be fancy. I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, some real estate agents I find think it's like the generic ones are great because they've got all these listings. Nobody's going to go to your, am I wrong? Am I wrong? Maybe I'm wrong. Nobody's going to go to your website to look for freaking listings.
They're going to use Zillow.
They're going to use Zillow, right? I mean, let's just
They're
be
going to
honest
use
about it.
Zillow. Yeah.
Nobody feels like, oh, I found this one special listing, maybe, I don't know, on your website. I don't know.
Could be. I mean, I think it's still important to have that IDX on there, because if they want to search, you want to keep them there as long as possible. But I agree with you. Have your own domain. If you want to leave the brokerage at any point, and you've created, 75, we have 75 blogs on our website right now, which is that's a lot of blogging hours. But I would much rather blog on a website than door knock or cold call. And it feels a little prehistoric to do
Oh my gosh.
things to me.
I did go door knocking last week.
You did?
I did go door knocking. I'm telling you, I'm like totally out of my comfort zone. It was super fun. We were supporting one of our local real estate teams, and they had printed up a bunch of lawn bags with their logo on. And so, I thought we were like, me and the agent, we were all going to go like in teams and door. No. Like, here are your lawn bags, go door knock. I was like, I've never door knocked in my life. But it was great. It was great. I loved it. The first couple were a little bit cringy because I didn't know what to say. But then people just opened the door, and it was a super easy icebreaker because we were giving them something of value.
Sure.
Like, hey, we're out in the community providing something of value. And then it was so easy to have conversations with people. I was like, some people just thought we were Amazon. They were like, oh, just drop it off. And they didn't open the door. It's like, okay, here's your package. But I loved it. And I was like, this is a really cool thing. It is, it's just a different way of like reaffirming that like we are salespeople.
Right.
But that's a really good thing, because we are here to help you, whether it's find out what the value of your home is or get you a better mortgage, whatever we're doing. But I actually loved it. I totally got out of my comfort zone for the first time in 20 years. I went door knocking, and it was awesome.
Well, I think that's the cool thing about this business is something that works for someone may not work for someone else. But I think it's important to find, the thing that does work for you. And that might be trying a few things that don't before, you figure it out.
Yeah. And I would say like you can also do like the door knocking part, especially right now around the holidays. Like, I would imagine as a real estate agent, I would want to own the neighborhood that I'm in. Like, I would want everybody having a gift bag or a damn pumpkin with my logo on it. Something like, y'all need to know that I am the queen of this neighborhood right here.
Exactly.
So getting out there, and I think that's over the last couple of years, it was a lot easier to just kind of hide. Now you've got to hit the streets.
Right.
You've got to get face to face with people. And I think social media is great, because I think social media keeps us front and center in front of our people every single day. They can see, oh, there's Heather, oh, there's Heather, oh, there she is. Keeping that entertaining is hard. It's a job. I don't necessarily believe in outsourcing it, because, well,
you lose that personality.
You lose who you are. I want people to see me, picking up the phone and recording something and knowing that they're seeing my personality,
right?
As opposed to like a really pretty post. I did a lot of the pretty posts before, where it was like, oh, this little buyer and that little buyer. Now it's more organic, it's more messy. And I think that seems to be getting a lot more traction, but that using that to continue growing your sphere, as opposed to, I don't think that a bunch of random strangers are gonna bring that much value. I mean, you're not.
I agree. Yeah.
They're not going to know, like, if somebody in Seattle sees your TikTok, I get it. I think there's value to that, but the odds of them wanting to buy that house in Ormwood rather than having all of your people, you know what I mean? Like, all of your people in your sphere. So like making sure that all of your people are actually following you on social media, that you're interacting with them on social media, that you're liking their posts, that you're saying something good. I think that also helps the algorithms. to like if they see you interacting back and forth and commenting on people's, stories or
Yeah,
whatever.
absolutely. It grows that, like, know, like, and trust feeling too. Maybe if
Mhm.
it's like, an acquaintance or something,
Mhm.
someone you've met a couple times, you know, having making sure that they're following you, you're interacting with their social media will create those feelings, and whenever it's time for them to, purchase or sell or, maybe do both,
Mhm.
you're the one that they call.
And
So,
also, I would say I'm starting to go, like, whenever I'm talking to clients, like people that call me just to get pre-approved, I'm like, "What's your Insta handle?"
okay,
Right? So I'm immediately, making that connection with them,
sure.
because that is better than me calling them or texting them or whatever, because now they're at home and they can see me doing mortgages or talking about mortgages, or maybe even, whatever, me walking my cat or baking my bread or whatever it is that I do. But it becomes like, oh, there is Jasmine, right? So then there is like that trust is
Mhm.
automatically built. So getting into a habit of asking people, like, what's your Insta, oh, let's connect on Instagram.
Sure.
Like, you can do that with anybody at a bar or wherever. The moment they find out that you're a realtor, like, hey, what's your Instagram?
Right.
um I know, one of our friends who's a real estate agent, he, like, literally, he will just walk up to anybody, talk to them about anything, and 14 seconds later they're connected on Instagram.
Mhm.
And so the people that are following him on Instagram are people that have met him, and so his network, the his social is really, really working
Sure.
for him,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Um, because it's not just like a bunch of random strangers that thought that your dancing video was cute.
Right, it's more intentional and
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Well, I also appreciate, like, when I see the things that you and David are posting,
mhm,
I appreciate the work and the effort you guys are putting into it. And it's like, okay,
mhm.
there's Heather doing her thing. She's hustling, like she's always trying to make something better, trying to post something better. And it does
Right,
I think that just that touch is what counts, that they
right.
see you as a professional. It doesn't have to be perfectly produced. It doesn't have to
No,
be like the greatest social media post with 1,000 gajillion likes. It's just people being like, oh, there's Heather talking about real estate. Cool.
right. I mean, we're not recreating the wheel here. It's, you know, you can go back and if there are so many new agents that I talk to and they're like, "What do I post?" Go check out, what go on realtor.com. What's trending right now in the news? Get on and post something about that, and then recreate it into a carousel, and then recreate it into a blog, and then recreate it into a reel, and turn it into a TikTok. And there's so many ways to get across that same information and fill your content calendar, with
Mhm.
that. It doesn't have to be groundbreaking.
Right, exactly. Just the fact that you're trying.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, I don't know. I mean, I think that what's her name? Glenda Baker. I mean, she has like a lot of followers, but when she started like on TikTok, I just remember like looking at like some of the first ones that she posted, and I was like, here's this lady just hustling.
Mhm.
That's all she was. It's like,
Right.
here's this lady. And I think that's what most people thought. Here's this lady being authentically who she is, hustling, right?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
people are drawn to that. I think they're drawn to the authenticity of, like, they don't want you to do another video like everybody else has done. They just want to get to know you, and
Right.
they feel like they're connecting to you
Yeah.
through your post, whatever that is.
I think that's really important, especially in the business that we're in. Um, this is the most amount of money that they've probably spent, you
Mm,
know, especially first time home buyers in their life.
yeah.
So trusting someone and asking them point blank questions, and feeling like you're getting an honest answer,
Mm,
I
mm,
think is really important. And, showing your face and being able to connect that way,
mhm.
creates those feelings for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. So I think one thing that you guys are pretty good about, that I like, is like all of your closings. You guys are really good about posting about closings. And I think that that's another way that you are able to, like, reach your sphere,
Mhm.
right? And I almost feel like every real estate agent should have that, as that is part of their playbook, is when they go to a closing, that, they tag their borrowers or their
Mm-hmm.
buyers or
Mm-hmm.
sellers or whoever in the Instagram post, or and share it in their story, so
Right.
that then everybody that they know also sees it, and then you can just like and follow everybody that
Right.
likes and follows. And now you've just grown your sphere. But it's do you have any ideas to share on like some unique ways to post about the closing? Like, the closing pictures are interesting, but I'm reaching for something that can be a little bit more unique
Mm-hmm.
and interesting in terms of like the closing pictures, as opposed to just having everybody around a closing table. What are some good ways to, like, I had one of my clients, she took a picture of her moving truck and tagged me,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, I like that. I was like, that's
Yeah.
good. I like the moving truck. That's a
Right.
symbol of everything right there.
Well,
What other
what
ideas
I
do you have?
what I do, I like to partner with the listing agent if I'm on the buyer side,
Uh-huh.
and I ask them if I can share the listing photos on my social. I'll
Mm,
do the first one, me and my buyer in front of the house, or my buyer in front of the house, and then the listing photos
mhm,
behind that,
mhm,
because people are nosy. They want to
mm,
see inside your home, and whatever keeps them on that post longer, they'll look up at your handle, and they'll say, "Oh, whatever other listing photos do they have?" And
uh,
they'll pop onto your page and go through, others, and maybe your videos, and maybe even follow you at that point. So, um,
good
yeah,
idea. I
I
like
think
that.
sharing those listing photos, but you have to be careful. You've got to ask for permission for sure,
Mhm, 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 from the
and
list.
sometimes even ask for the photographer's permission too. So,
Mm. I didn't know that. That's a
yeah.
good one. Keep that in our back pocket. I usually don't share listing photos. I usually just share buyers. And I find that, like, if a buyer tagged me in their closing picture, I'm sure they're fine with me sharing it. If they tag me
Yeah.
in it, I think they're
Yeah,
okay
I'm good. We're good.
with me sharing it. So tell me, I know we've kind of getting to the end of our time. So I want to see, is there any secret sauce ideas that you have if you were a new agent starting out, besides joining a team? What are some of the things that you feel were those pivotal points for you? That it was there certain things that changed when you went from being like, oh my god, I don't think I'm going to be able to support myself, to like, I just sold 17 houses my
Yeah.
first year? Like, what are some of the tools and tips that we can take some notes on and learn?
Um, so I think creating a schedule is really important.
Yeah.
Um, I know a lot of us work from home,
Mhm.
so creating, you know, set hours that you're working, even if it's not client facing work, is really important by to keep that momentum.
Mm,
Um, what is it? It's action brings motivation, brings inspiration. So, you know, just doing something during that time will create that motivation and then inspire you to do more.
mhm, mm,
So,
mhm,
so I would say that is a really big one. Scheduling time, understanding how much time you want to work on your real estate career that week, and then blocking that time out was super pivotal for me,
mm.
to make sure that I was, putting in the effort and you know pushing towards my career for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I love having, like, I love numbers. Like, I'm a obviously in the mortgage business. But duh. But I love having, like, I'm gonna make 20 calls today. I'm gonna make
Sure.
40 calls today. Like,
Hmm.
I love having goals, because like when there's nobody looking over your shoulder, like I need to compete with myself. Like,
Hmm.
and I'm like, okay, this is, I'm gonna make 10 calls before lunch. I'm gonna make 15 calls.
Hmm.
And I still think, like, es- especially because everybody's sitting at home, which is why I think door knocking is actually really hip, because everybody's working from home.
Yeah.
Like, I was crazy surprised. Like, this was like, whatever, a Thursday afternoon at 2 p.m. in the afternoon, and all these armed people are at home.
Yeah.
So,
I
so
could I
door
could
knocking.
see that for sure. You're
Yeah.
gonna It's gonna take a little more to convince me, Jasmine, but
I'm gonna keep working on this door
keep
knocking
working,
thing.
keep
Right?
working.
We're going door knocking, you and me. But yeah, just I like setting goals, like not necessarily because not like, oh, I'm gonna make $1 million kind of goals, which is great. That's fantastic too. But just like little miniature goals, like,
Mhm.
hey, I'm gonna do 5 calls, or I'm gonna get
Right.
this blog done before, like just kind of setting a schedule, but kind of motivating yourself when you don't have a boss looking over your shoulder saying like,
Totally.
"Did you turn in a report or whatever?"
Mhm. And it
I
was
like
really helpful in the beginning to make a list of things that I was gonna do that day,
Mm,
writing it down physically, marking it off my list was
mhm,
super motivating. If I saw something was written down, I wrote it down, so that means today it has to get accomplished today.
mhm, mhm,
If it doesn't get accomplished today, it moves to tomorrow. What do I have on my list for tomorrow? I'm adding to it, so let's push to get it done today. If we can't, fine, move it to tomorrow, but it's written down, so it needs to get done. That was my mindset, and it still is. I
mhm,
still do that. I have my Google Calendar, but I also have a planner
mhm,
that
mhm,
I take notes in. The act of writing something down for me is it really creates that motivation. I don't know what about it is, but I've heard other people say that
I
too.
know. I
So,
agree with you. Like
yeah.
yeah, I'm just a total nerd when it comes to notes. Like I just have notes and notes, notes, notes. But I like I think it's a commitment. When you write
Mhm,
something down, you're committing. You're psychologically are committing to getting that thing done.
for
So if
sure.
so let's say that you're a newish agent, you don't really have a buyer to take in your car, you don't have a listing on the horizon. What do you put on your list?
I put on my list, I'm gonna create a social media post today. I'm gonna create a YouTube video today. I'm gonna go, uh, tour a home, and make a video about it.
Mhm.
Creating doing things in the real estate arena without clients, there's still plenty to do
Mhm.
to you kind of fake it until you make it.
Mhm.
When I first started out, I did, I think once a week I did a listing post. Right now, on Sage and Cedar, we're doing Friday favorites. So the newest listing in the area that we, if it's not one of ours, we'll search for another listing in the area and we'll post about it because we love design, we love architecture, we also love these other things about the real estate business. So
Mhm.
kind of showing those things off is a good way for a new agent who doesn't have anything really client facing to do to kind of help them grow.
Mhm. Mhm. And then I think, along the same lines, I think you guys are also really good, just as far as like falling back up on our idea of, um, so the closings, like you guys are also really good about getting reviews.
Mhm.
And I think that's really, really important because I think a lot of going back to Zillow, I think that most people are gonna, if they find you online, they're gonna end up on Zillow, and then having those reviews is important. I think having a system. So I would say if you have empty time, create systems like, okay, every
Right.
time I close, this is what's going to happen, and then use your time. Especially when it's a little bit slower, it's a
Mhm.
really good time to kind of like, what is my system? What is my playbook? What is an ideal client experience look
Right.
like when they work with me? And so maybe you spend some time cleaning up your email templates. This
Mhm.
is my buyer presentation, this is my listing presentation,
We
clean.
do with our new agents, we do mock buyer presentations. We have them do it in front of create it, do it in front of us, do it in front of their dog, do
Mm,
it in front of their friends. Um, it's almost like you're rehearsing. So when you get there, you're not as nervous, you're not fumbling over your words. You have we'll ask questions. Like if there's a question that comes up for my buyer presentation quite a bit, then I will ask that to a mentee. I will ask that question and make sure that they've got the right answer and they're not just, you know,
mhm,
answering it to answer it, that they actually know the answer to it. And if they don't, I don't tell them to give an answer that's not right. I tell them to, say, let me make a note. I'll get back to you about that.
mhm, mhm, mhm.
It's never going to be perfect, but
Yeah, exactly. And nobody expects it to be perfect, but I think that as long as you have a quick way to get back to them and give them
Mhm.
accurate information as opposed to just saying
An
something,
answer. Yeah.
an answer, right? One thing that I find interesting is I see some real estate agents that are really, really good about like posting the whole story,
Mhm.
right? The story of the buyer. That actually takes quite a bit of effort
Mhm.
to remember the full story, right? And so of your client's journey, right?
Mhm.
Because they're the heroes. We're just here to kind of, we're just facilitating
Sure.
their the hero's journey, if you will. And so making, literally like having like a client book where you write down, like, oh, they lived here, they have this kid, then they had this trial and tribulation, then there was these multiple offers, there was this, and then you can
Mhm.
create a pretty nice post about that client's journey. And I think that attracts a lot more attention because people really like stories.
Mhm. Mhm. For sure, I agree. Yeah.
So, and then they can visualize, oh, well, if she could help them with their 3 dogs and 1 grandma.
Also, I never learn anything from someone's successes. It's
Yeah,
always the hard stuff,
yeah,
that
yeah,
teaches me something.
yeah.
So that's when I'm talking to new agents, I let them know, "Hey, I failed at this. I
Mhm,
did,
mhm,
but
mhm.
because I decided to commit to these hours during the week in the beginning, even though I didn't have any clients, that's why, because this is a at the end of the day, it's a job. It is, and it can feel not like that, especially when you're working for yourself.
Yeah.
It's hard to find that structure, but, yeah, for sure. I let people know that I did not do well the first year.
Yeah.
'Cause I think it is motivating, it helps people understand,
Yeah.
that they're it's okay if it's hard right now, it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
If it weren't, everyone would do it, so.
Exactly. Yeah, there's this one loan officer that I don't know her, but I just kind of know her story.
Mhm,
And she was, like she was just like a regular old loan officer. And then there was something that happened and she basically got fired by the company that she worked for because there was some sort of an FHA signature, something, blah, blah, blah. And so they up and fired her. And so literally overnight, like she was not prepared for this. She lost her entire book of business.
mhm.
She lost all of her clients. She had nobody's contact information.
Sure,
And she just started from scratch.
sure.
And for her, it was super motivating to have gotten fired. And she was
Mhm.
like, I'm going to show them.
Right.
I'm going to show them. And then she went from like literally not a single contact to rebuilding her business from scratch to literally closing like 500 loans per year.
Sure. Yeah.
Because she was just like, I know how to do this, even if I don't have anybody. But she was really motivated by like, like that. And to me, her story was super motivating because sometimes I
Mhm.
would get freaked out, like, oh my God, what if the world ends? Right. And I was like, okay, well, if she could restart from scratch, I can start from scratch. We can
Yeah,
always start from scratch. It's gonna be okay. So her
exactly.
failure has really inspired me many times. I'm like, okay, if she can do it, I can do it. Let's keep going. Well, thank you, Heather. I've really, really enjoyed connecting with you and sharing you with the world because I think you're fabulous and amazing, and I love working with you and your people. So if there is somebody listening that wants to connect with you, do you want to give them a couple ways to reach out and find you?
Yeah, I'm always reachable through, phone or email, heather@sageandcedarhome.com. I answer my DMs on, Instagram, so Heather Dean Realtor. And then, yeah, uh, YouTube, you can find us, Facebook, all the
All the
places.
socials.
We're findable. Just type in the
That's right.
name.
I love it. Well, thank you so much, Heather. We'll see you around.
Thank you for listening to the Agent Upgrade Podcast. If you are an agent looking for a new mortgage lender, start with Jasmine at jasmineteam.com. If you want to learn about real estate investing and working with investors, check in with Alan at thehouseofac.com. See you next time on Agent Upgrade.